Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's FIP webinar sessions. So today's sessions is mainly to talk about assuring qualities, advancing impact, focusing on qualities and challenges for pharmacy education in the Western Pacific. So next slide, please. So my name is Chun-Wai. So I'm the Deputy Director for Research Strategies and Innovations of IMU University in Malaysia. I'm also the co-chair of FIP UNESCO Unit Twin Center for Excellence in Western Pacific region. So this is very good to see everyone here. I can see the chat is very well. A lot of people are writing and saying hi to each other. So keep it going. And throughout the sessions, if you have any thoughts of the questions you wanted to raise to the panelists later, feel free to use the chat function. And as well as because today's session is a global discussion, so I understand that we all have our own language and our diversity. Perhaps we want to use English as the mediums for us to communicate so that it will be an easier communication for the rest of us. The next slide, please. So the view of the housekeeping announcements, the webinar is recorded and is currently also live streamed in our YouTube. So recording will also be available on our website in the link below. So you may ask any questions using the chat box, as I mentioned, and you are most welcome to provide us any feedback that we can help even better for the future webinar. So also, we appeal to all of you, please join and become a member of the FIP. Next slide, please. So there's a translations features on the Zooms as well. So please feel free to turn on the captions so that enables the translations happen. And you can choose the preferred mode of the captions, and you can follow with us on the live translated caption. But however, if for the questions that you wanted to ask the panelists, feel free to use English to type it out so that easier for us to understand the discussion. Next slide, please. So very quickly, so we have our moderator today, and we have our panelists as well. So I will be introduce them one by one in the following agenda. Next slide, please. So this is the quick run through. So now I'm speaking to you as a welcome and introductions, and we have a case study presentation by Professor Alice and also Professor Sean. And we will have a quick overview about quality assurance and the purpose by Kate and Prof. Rhonda. And the panel discussion will be led by our chairs for the Unit Twin and Prof. Bob. Okay, so next slide, please. So this is the learning objectives. Basically, we wanted to describe the purpose and the core principles on the quality assurance. We want to analyze the key challenges faced by most of the pharmacy school and to evaluate any roles of the national and regional and global bodies, including our distinct partners today, the Australian Pharmacy Council, as well as FIP. So we want to also reflect on the opportunity that we can enhance in terms of collaboration and then share the best practice. Next slide, please. So very quickly, in case you're not sure, FIP UNESCO Unit Twin programs that we launched very recently in a couple of years. The main thing is to transform pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences education and research and to advancing in sustainability, equality, and technology innovation, particularly in pharmaceutical sciences, while fostering the inter-university collaborations and excellence across the region. So we have a very ambitious missions to advance global pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences education. Next slide, please. So the program objective is quite very clear, as you can see in the slide. So I won't dwell too much on detail, but the key focus is to contribute to an improvement in the global health. Next slide, please. So this is actually the logos for the FIP UNESCO Unit Twin for Center for Excellence. Obviously, every region will have the particular logo. So if those of you are coming from the Western Pacific region, so this will be the logo that you probably will see quite frequently. Next slide. So under FIP, we have the academic institution membership. So there is actually the main thing is for all the university. If you want to learn more about this FIP AIM membership, you can scan the QR code here. The FIP AIM membership is a leading education. We're focusing on the concentrations, which means special interest, Like today, we talk about pharmacy education, and we also strengthen in collaborations as well as communication. So the 3C. Next slide, please. So without further ado, let me introduce Professor Alec. So she is actually the Dean for the Faculty of Pharmacy and University of Santo Tomas. So Professor Alec, the floor is yours.
A very good afternoon, morning, evening to everyone. Mabuhay from the Philippines. To our distinguished guests, fellow pharmacists and educators, quality assurance champions, colleagues, warm Thomasian greetings of peace and excellence. Next slide, please. It is both an honor and a privilege to share with you today the story of our quality assurance journey in the UST Faculty of Pharmacy, a journey defined by competence, commitment, and compassion, and the continuous pursuit of academic excellence. Next slide, please. When we speak of quality assurance, we often think of compliance, of meeting standards and passing audits. But at the University of Santo Tomas, and especially within the Faculty of Pharmacy, quality is not merely compliance. It is a culture, a way of life, and a reflection of our Thomasian identity. Next slide. Considered the oldest existing university in Asia and the largest Catholic university in the world on a single campus, the University of Santo Tomas is destined to become a beacon of light and a cradle of wisdom in this part of the globe. For 414 years, excellence in education has been a hallmark of the university's history. The UST, currently situated on a 21.5-hectare campus in the city of Manila, was founded on April 28, 1611 by Bishop Miguel de Benavides of the Order of Preachers. Next slide. In 1902, UST was granted the title Pontifical University by Pope Leo XIII. The university became the second university in the world next to the Gregorian University in Rome to earn the title. And in 1947, Pope Pius XII granted UST the title the Catholic University of the Philippines. Next slide. From its humble beginnings as a seminary school to its current achievements as a comprehensive university, the University of Santo Tomas has been steadfast in providing outstanding educational opportunities and service to the community, not only in Manila, but also in Santa Rosa, Laguna, and General Santos City in Mindanao, both south of Manila. Next slide, please. The university currently offers a wide range of undergraduate and graduate academic programs through its 22 faculties, colleges, and institutes. UST offers 106 academic programs, 63 undergraduate level programs, and 43 graduate level programs. Currently, the university houses over 40,000 students in a single campus. Next slide, please. The university has enjoyed an autonomous status since 2001 when the Commission on Higher Education first awarded such recognition to higher education institutions in the country, and an unequivocal recognition of UST's adherence to outstanding quality education without need for close government supervision. The status was renewed in 2007, 2016, and 2024 and holds validity up to 2027. UST's tradition of excellence is also evidenced by the several institutional recognitions it has received from national and international agencies. Next slide, please. Established on May 29, 1871, the University of Santo Tomas Faculty of Pharmacy became the first pharmacy school in the Philippines. In 2017, the Doctor of Pharmacy program was introduced, paving the way for graduates to venture into another promising field of pharmacy practice. Next slide, please. In 2021, the Faculty of Pharmacy proudly commemorated its sesquicentennial founding anniversary, marking an impressive 150 years of dedication to excellence in pharmacy education and research. The celebration served not only as a reflection on its historical achievements, but also an opportunity to envision the future direction of pharmacy education and practice. Next slide, please. The USTBS Pharmacy Program, considered the oldest in the Philippines, is a 4-year program that enables students to acquire technical and practical experience in the different areas of pharmacy practice. Next slide, please. The higher education landscape today demands transformation. Universities are no longer measured solely by tradition or legacy, but by their capacity to adapt, innovate, and ensure relevance in an ever-changing world. In pharmacy and the health sciences, this demand is even greater. And so we prepare future professionals who must be scientifically competent, ethically grounded, globally attuned, and socially responsive. Thus, the journey toward quality assurance is not an administrative task, it is an educational mission. It answers the call of the Commission on Higher Education's outcomes-based quality assurance framework, aligns with the ASEAN qualifications reference framework, and ultimately fulfills the university's mission of forming competent and compassionate professionals guided by truth in charity, or veritas in caritate. And so let me take you briefly through our QA journey, our milestones, our struggles, and our triumphs. Our journey began with an honest self-assessment, asking difficult questions about relevance, alignment, and impact. Were our programs meeting the needs of the profession and society? Were our teaching learning processes truly outcomes-based? Were we using evidence, not intuition, to guide our decisions? It was in these questions that our QA framework began to take shape. We started by strengthening our internal QA mechanisms, standardizing documentation, and aligning our programs with UST's institutional learning outcomes. Next slide, please. We established a faculty quality assurance team comprising program chairs, QA coordinators, and administrative leaders. Through this, quality became everyone's responsibility, not just a committee's function. We embrace data-driven decision-making, faculty peer evaluation, tracer studies, and stakeholder feedback as integral tools for continuous improvement. Next slide, please. Through the years, the Faculty of Pharmacy has achieved numerous accreditations and recognitions. PACUCOA Level 4 accreditation for the BS Pharmacy, Medical Technology, and Biochemistry programs, the highest level granted by this agency. AUNQA certification and recertification after 5 years, placing us among the top programs in ASEAN. To date, the pharmacy program is the first and the only Center of Excellence granted by the Commission on Higher Education. Active participation in curriculum benchmarking and international linkages and recognition as a leading academic institution that integrates research, community service, and professional development within a strong QA system. Next slide, please. But beyond plaques and certificates, the true success of our QA journey lies in the growth of our people, our empowered faculty, our globally competitive graduates, and our resilient students who embody Thomasian excellence wherever they go. Next slide. Our QA journey has not been without its challenges. We have learned that, first, Quality is not a project with an endpoint, but a process of perpetual renewal. Second, true transformation occurs when ownership of quality extends from administration to faculty, staff, and students. And perhaps the most important is quality assurance is not about doing more. It's about doing better with purpose and consistency. Next slide, please. And so as we look forward, we recognize the need to strengthen research-based quality improvement, deepen student-centered outcomes assessment, integrate sustainability and digital literacy across all programs, and prepare for more international benchmarking that will position the faculty and UST as a leader in global pharmacy education. Next slide, please. Moving forward, our goal is not simply to maintain our standards, but to raise them continually. We envision a faculty that is globally recognized for academic and research excellence, produces graduates who are critical thinkers, innovators, and servant leaders, and upholds the Thomasian values of competence, compassion, and commitment to service. Next slide. And in the next phase, our quality assurance initiatives will focus on integration, weaving together teaching, research, community service, and industry engagement into a coherent narrative of excellence. Quality, therefore, becomes not just a framework, but a living culture that defines who we are and how we serve. Next slide. As I close, allow me to share this reflection from Aristotle, and I quote, "Quality is not an act, but a habit." End of quote. But at the UST Faculty of Pharmacy, quality is our habit. Excellence is our tradition. Our journey continues, guided by faith, fueled by passion, and sustained by our shared commitment to form the next generation of pharmacists and health professionals who will heal, innovate, and lead in integrity. Next slide. We continue to work together, the faculty, students, alumni, and partners, as one Thomasian community, steadfast in our mission to serve God, the nation, and the world through the pursuit of quality and excellence. Maraming salamat po. Thank you, and may God bless us all with His unending grace.
Thank you, Professor Allen. Now, next slide, please. Now we have Professor Sean Lee, Head of Schools from Monash University, Malaysia. Sean, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Chun-Wai, and very good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on which part of the world you are. So it's really a pleasure, and I thank FIP for inviting me to share a little bit about our journey regarding our accreditation here at Monash University in Malaysia. Can I have the next slide, please? So I've been asked to share a little bit about what are some of the challenges in meeting some of the accreditation standards, but also to understand some of the evolving standards. And today, what I'll do is I'll share a little bit about our experiences about accreditation and quality assurance. Next slide, please. So just to give a little bit background to everybody, Monash is a global research-intensive university that has a global footprint across the world. So Monash has several campuses around the Indo-Pacific, but also in Europe and as well in China. Can you go to the next slide, please? So unknown to many, there are 4 campuses in Australia, but there are also a campus right here in Malaysia, situated in its capital in Sunway City. We also have campuses in Indonesia, China, India, and Italy. But what I'm going to focus today is I'm going to focus about the accreditation for pharmacy education really in Malaysia, where I'm based in. Can I go next slide, please? So the campus in Malaysia is the third largest campus in Monash, and it's one of the most respected universities in Malaysia. It was built in 1998, and since then we have got several accreditations, including those from the Malaysian government as well as MIRA. Can I get the next slide, please? So over at the School of Pharmacy was established as a component of the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences in 2009. And just very recently, we celebrated our 15-year anniversary. So as one of the global proponents of pharmacy education, the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Science is a renowned key research center. And it's also home to MIPS, the Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, that imprints the largest groups of pharmaceutical scientists in Australia. Next, please. So at Monash University in Malaysia, very similar to our faculty, we offer two big bachelor programs. The first is the Bachelor of Pharmacy, and the second is Bachelor of Pharmaceutical Sciences, because we believe that at the end of the core of it, medicines are the essentials of our field. So next slide, please. Given that background, as you had heard, there is already a campus in Australia. So how about our accreditation really in Malaysia itself? And this call comes back and we will share a little bit about accreditation and how we found about it. But really this call for quality assurance in pharmacy education was the one that really driven us to deliver and find our accreditation partner. And one of the things that we actually thought about was, do we do an Australian-only pharmacy accreditation? Do we do a Malaysian-only accreditation? Second thing at the back of our mind also was, when we did our accreditation, was also some of the cost accreditation. Because as you have heard from Prof. Aleph just now, accreditation can cost quite a fair bit in terms of investment, either from the university or even in terms of getting the accreditation body. And given the various accreditation body with diverse programs offered, this was also at the back of our mind. So next slide, please. Against this, one of the benefits we thought about was that given the rapidly evolving circumstances here, one of the things that we thought about was, how do we actually get the correct accreditation partner and finding a suitable accreditation partner? So we looked up high and far, and obviously being a Malaysian campus, one of the things that we did was also to run a Malaysian accreditation, where some of the key interests and accreditation standards were really related to patient safety, operation efficiency, reputability, as well as professional development. And given the rapidly evolving healthcare landscape, given the scope of pharmacy practice is really expanding dramatically with immunization, pharmacogenomics, and also independent prescribing, that we felt that education must keep in pace with that. And so because of that, we actually chose to run to and be accredited by two independent accreditation bodies. Firstly, the Malaysian Pharmaceutical Society by the Pharmacy Board in Malaysia, as well as the Australian Pharmacy Council. And so I'm going to share a little bit about some of our journey when we did that. Next slide, please. So one of the first things we actually did was really to set up, just like Prof. Aleph, is to set up a QA team which involved every staff member in our faculty. One of the reasons why is that because we wanted every member of staff to understand all the different accreditation requirements, but also to understand the program a lot more. Again, given this, it's really a very resource intensive because it took us nearly 6 months to 12 months to prepare the documents before the actual accreditation really happened. And do take note that because of accreditation, there will be potential disruptions in workflow and also a big resistance to change, because as you know, QA is not about doing more, but doing better. And so because of that, we had to have a global mindset change in our faculty, trying to teach them about the differences between doing more, but not doing more, but doing a lot better. The other thing that actually really came about is that we finally got our accreditation from the Pharmacy Board in 2014 and also from the Australian Pharmacy Council in 2017. However, one of the things is that while accreditation is one thing, maintaining this accreditation is an ongoing compliance and adaptation process. As you all have known, accreditation can be a really time-consuming and taxing, but the rewards can be very big, can be big. And so because of that, we had to build and have a constant maintained cycle of accreditation, looking through our courses every now and then. Again, some of the challenges we occurred is that trying to achieve two accreditation standards is always challenging, given that we have to meet two different accreditation standard bodies with two very different standards. And so what we did again is that we tried to measure against our standards again and have it peer reviewed, inviting different people from different parts of the world, as well as different parts of our country, just to look through to see how we did. We then identified some of the self-gaps and had mock site visits to reflect some of the strengths and weaknesses in our accreditation body. And then we then did some plans and repeated the cycle. And this is a continuous quality assurance cycle that happens in the school throughout the years. And so probably for me, the call for quality assurance is really a demand for safety, competency, and accountability, but also an evolution in the pharmacy world. And running an accreditation is really the answer because it provided us with a rigorous, but a very structured and ongoing system to transform this demand from a philosophical idea of trying to teach people into something tangible and enforceable in reality. And I think this is one of the single most guarantee that the publics have in the quality of pharmacy that we produce. And some of the benefits, obviously, that we can see from this accreditation standard is that we have moved a lot. So in terms of accreditation, because it has enhanced our institutional reputation and prestige. And I'm proud to say that we are the only one of the only APC accredited international programs globally. And this actually creates a very attractive prospect to students, but also it's a strategic alignment to our quality assurance as part of the Monash culture. Can I get next slide, please? And I think with that, I look forward to the discussion and invite you to ask any questions you have regarding our accreditation process. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Very lovely presentations, and hold all your thoughts. And if you have any questions, then please feel free to use the Q&A box. And then later, when we come to the discussions, we will look through all the Q&A questions. But first, we will have the representative from the Australian Pharmacy Council, Professor Rhonda Clifford. She is the chair for Accreditation Committee from the Australian Pharmacy Council, as well as today we're also very honored to have the Miss Kate Spencer, which is the Executive Director's Accreditations and Assessment from the Australian Pharmacy Council with us today. So over to you, Miss Kate.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening everyone, and thanks to FIP for inviting us to talk to you about the work that the Australian Pharmacy Council does in relation to pharmacy program accreditation. I'll be talking today also on behalf of Professor Rhonda Clifford, who is the chair of our accreditation committee, and Rhonda will be on the panel at the end if you have any questions for her as well. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background about the Australian Pharmacy Council, or APC. We're the National Accreditation Authority for Pharmacy Education and Training in Australia, and we do this on behalf of the Pharmacy Board of Australia, who is the regulator of pharmacists, and AHPRA, who overall regulates 16 health professions in Australia. APC is an independent, not-for-profit company, and we work to protect public health by setting and maintaining high standards of pharmacy education. And we do this through leading accreditation and assessment of education in the pharmacy sector, and we're very proud to do this both within Australia and internationally. And we've heard an excellent presentation from Professor Sean Lee about the work that we have done internationally with Monash, Malaysia. Our core business is to accredit pharmacy programs in Australia, to assess the competency of Australian pharmacy interns, and also to assess the skills of pharmacists who have qualified outside of Australia and are wanting to come and practice in Australia. Next slide, please. So our accreditation standards that we develop for our accreditation work, we have them for a number of programs, and that includes pre-registration programs and also post-registration training programs. So you can see we accredit pharmacy degree programs and also intern training programs. So they're training programs that are undertaken in the year before general registration is granted in Australia. We also do post-registration training programs that pharmacists undertake to become a pharmacist prescriber, to work in aged care settings and to undertake medication management reviews or MMRs, and to do vaccination work in the community. Next slide, please. We're also very proud to be the first accreditation agency worldwide to achieve the FIP Seal Award. And this seal recognises and assures APC's quality and alignment with FIP's mission, aims and development goals. And there'll be a presentation a little bit later tonight around the FIP seal and what that means. Next slide, please. So the accreditation process that APC undertakes, and this is the same for all of our programs across the different accreditation standards. We develop those accreditation standards and we have a very robust process for developing standards with strong stakeholder engagement with academics, with practicing pharmacists and with our regulator. And then we have a process of assessing programs against those standards. Education providers then deliver the pharmacy programs according to our standards, and the end result is safe and competent pharmacists and protecting the public in Australia. Next slide, please. So a little bit more detail about our accreditation process here. So you can see it's a cyclical process. It starts with the education provider application, and Professor Sean talked about preparing that documentation and the time that takes. That then undergoes review through an assessment team, and we use external people who help us with our accreditation work. So pharmacy academics and practicing pharmacists who are trained and work as a team to review the application and to undertake interviews and further study on the programs and the education provider. We then, the work of our independent accreditation committee, chaired by Professor Rhonda Clifford, where they make an accreditation decision on the basis of that report. The committee then applies ongoing monitoring requirements and reporting that the education provider submits, and the accreditation committee continues to have oversight and monitoring to ensure education providers continue to align with those accreditation standards. So it maintains and builds on the quality of pharmacy programs. Next slide, please. So overall benefits of accreditation are around the quality assurance of programs and the way that they are designed, developed and delivered. That our work is independent, so it provides an external quality assurance check, which can be in addition to internal university processes for quality assurance. We use recognised and established standards, and I've already talked about the process that we go through to develop those standards, so they are widely accepted within the profession within Australia. It also protects health system users, so the public and the people that we are training pharmacists for. And supporting the student experience. In Australia, we're very strong on ensuring students are supported through their training so that they have a good experience, they are able to progress, and they are ready for their work in the profession. And in Australia, accreditation is a pathway to registration. It's a requirement to register with the Pharmacy Board of Australia that you complete a program that the Australian Pharmacy Council has accredited. Next slide, please. Internationally, our accreditation work, we use our Australian standards. And so that's a set of 38 accreditation criteria that have been extensively developed in Australia. An assessment is undertaken by Australian academics and practicing pharmacists, and they use a face-to-face site visit and interviews to look deeply into the program and the way it is developed and delivered. We have an assessment team that visits the site and provides in-person feedback during the visit. So that's a quality assurance process on the ground at the time of the visit. And then following that, a written report is provided to the education provider so they understand the findings of the assessment team and they can use that to help in quality improvement in their program. The APC board makes the accreditation decision on international programs, and accreditation may be granted for a maximum of 5 years. And as I mentioned before, our accreditation committee has ongoing oversight under the direction of Professor Rhonda Clifford. Because we use our Australian accreditation standards, there's 2 criteria within those standards that relate to Australian regulation and Australian cultural settings that international programs cannot meet and are not required to meet. And one of the differences with international accreditation and our accreditation that we undertake in Australia is that international accreditation does not provide a shortened pathway to Australian registration for graduates. Next slide, please. Some of the potential challenges, and I think Professor Sean talked about that really clearly in his presentation, the cost to the education provider. So there is a cost to engage in the accreditation process, both from the development and the resources that happen within the university, but the accreditation fees themselves. One potential challenge is the alignment of the standards to local education and practice setting in that international country. The recognition by the regulator in their own country, and we've heard about dual accreditation processes in your own country and in another country, which is one way to manage that. The education provider needs to be clear on the purpose or perceived benefit that they are expecting. And students, potential students and current students, need to understand and have appropriate expectations around what international accreditation means. Next slide, please. So the role of education providers, and we've heard a little bit on this already, is them to undertake a self-assessment against the accreditation standards, which provides an opportunity for reflection and improvements. Submitting the detailed documentation we've talked about, which is evidence of compliance with the standards, preparation for the interviews, and working with their stakeholders so they understand the process, and then ongoing compliance and reporting with our requirements. Next slide, please. So thank you for listening. APC is well placed to support education providers in the Western Pacific who are looking for external quality assurance. You can see there the QR code will take you to our website with some further information. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Can I have the next slide, please? So now we have Ms. Brown, the CEO of the Australian Pharmacy Council, as well as the chair of FIP Consortiums Australia, to share with us a bit about FIP's sale for quality and global recognition. Ms. Brown, will you be able to turn on your mic? I think Ms. Brown probably is having some technical issue. Perhaps, Daniel, could you step in to the presentation?
Happy to, Chun-Wai. Thank you very much. I'm speaking today, of course, on behalf of Professor Ms. Bronwyn Clark. My name is Genuine Desire, and I am the Unit Win and Provision Manager at FIP. I will share a little bit about the FIP seal for quality and global recognition, which essentially brings together global expertise to advance quality standards and professional development across pharmacy practice, science, and education. Of course, one of the key collective efforts for FIP when it comes to quality and standards is the FIP seal, which is a recognition framework that is designed to support high quality learning, provision, and to strengthen trust in the education being delivered to the pharmacy workforce worldwide. The seal is not an accreditation system, rather it is a quality mark that signals alignment with FIP's vision, values, and strategic objectives, particularly in supporting the ongoing development of the profession. And before I share more about the seal itself, I'd like to dive a little bit into the provision program, through which the FIP seal operates and which is closely aligned with FIP's mission to support pharmaceutical workforce development across practice, science, and education globally. While the program contributes to all FIP development goals, its strongest alignment is with Development Goal 3 and Development Goal 9. Development Goal 3 is quality assurance, which ensures that education and training meet consistent and credible standards. And Development Goal 9 is on continuing professional development, which supports lifelong learning and professional growth. This alignment with this development goals is the foundation for how we work with providers and, importantly, with accrediting agencies who are essential partners in assuring quality and supporting recognition across systems and countries. Our approach is built on global partnerships, collaborative models, and the FIP seal. And at the heart of it all is a vision to advance pharmacy worldwide by ensuring equitable access to high-quality education, training, and expertise. Our mission is to engage, support, and empower members through needs-based provision, ensuring that no one is left behind regardless of geography, resources, or the setting in which they practice. On this slide, we have the FIP Consortium, which is a specialized advisory board established to provide quality assurance for programs, providers, and accrediting agencies recognized with the FIP seal. Operating on behalf of the FIP Bureau, it brings together experts in pharmacy education, accreditation, quality assurance, and professional development to ensure that there is alignment with FIP standards and strategic priorities. The aim of the consortium is to assure the quality and alignment of programs and accrediting agencies recognized with the FIP seal, and they ensure that they advance pharmacy worldwide through effective partnerships between providers of programs, accrediting bodies, and of course, the recipients who are pharmacists around the world. This approach ensures the needs of FIP member organizations are met and that the impact of provision, accreditation, and partnerships is measured. Some of the responsibilities include overseeing the award of the FIP seal that we talked about earlier for programs by providers, overseeing the award of FIP seals for accrediting agencies, and finally assuring the quality of FIP's internal provision. I'll now touch a little bit on the two FIP seals that we have that support quality and recognition. On this slide, you'll see on the right our FIP seal for accrediting agency, which recognizes agencies operating credible, transparent, and robust quality assurance systems for education. And on the left, you'll see the FIP seal for programs, which recognizes education and training programs that show strong quality, relevance, and alignment with professional development needs. At the center, you will see the four key pillars in which the FIP seal stands on, which is the alignment with FIP development goals, assurance of quality, relevance to pharmacy, and of course, free of any product or brand promotion. To be considered for the FIP seal for programs, programs are reviewed against a set quality and alignment criteria. And as you can see on this slide, we have 5 main areas of the criteria that is used. First is the organizational profile, where we first understand who is delivering the program, their purpose, values, and experience in supporting professional education. This, of course, ensures that the program is situated within a credible and capable organizational context. The second is the program description, where the provider must clearly describe the program's objectives, the structure, the intended learners, the content, and the methods of delivery. This helps us determine the relevance, the coherence, and of course, the educational rationale behind the program. The third is an alignment with FIP's mission and development goals. The program should demonstrate support for the advancement of pharmacy practice, science, and education, and map to at least one primary FIP development goal, with the option to identify to up to 5 secondary development goals. This step ensures that the program contributes to global workforce strengthening, and it aligns with the broader direction of the profession. The fourth is the accreditation status, and here we ensure that the program is accredited or quality assured by a recognized body nationally or internationally. And of course, this does not replace the FIP seal, but it provides assurance that the program meets established educational quality standards. And last but not least is the independence and transparency of funding. We also look at how the program is resourced and funded, and transparency and independence in financial arrangements are essential to ensure credibility and avoid any conflicts of interest. On this slide, you'll see the diverse group of organizations that have earned the FIP seal for programs spanning the 6 WHO regions. These include national pharmacy organizations, training institutes, private education providers, and academic institutions. And their participation greatly reflects the global relevance of our program and the growing commitment to quality-driven educational alignment with FIP's values. Shifting to the FIP seal for accreditation agencies, and here the mission, we of course grade it against 6 criteria. The first is alignment with FIP's mission and development goals. And here we are looking at whether the agency's mission, values, and activities align with FIP's vision and relevant FIP development goals. Similar to the FIP seal for programs, there has to be at least one primary alignment with one primary goal and up to 5 secondary goals. We also look at the context. So is there a clear mission, scope, and strategic direction? And what is the purpose and operations shaped by stakeholder needs and local national context? When it comes to the structure, we look at the legal or statutory status that should be clearly defined, a transparent governance system, independence, and of course, impartial decision-making, a sustainable financial model, and adequate human and organizational resources. When it comes to the processes, we look at the use of a recognized or evidence-based and publicly available standards, consistent and fair accreditation procedures, mechanisms for stakeholder and public input, and clear policy for complaints, appeals, and substantive changes. When it comes to the outcomes, we assess whether accreditation decisions and outcomes are measurable and evidence-based, and whether regular evaluation of effectiveness and continuous quality improvement is done. To date, we have 2 accreditation agencies that have been awarded the FIP seal for accreditation agencies, and we have the Australian Pharmacy Council as well as the Academy of Pharmaceutical Sciences in the United Kingdom. This recognition highlights our commitment to supporting not only cost providers, but also the organizations that underpin quality assurance systems globally. On this slide is a summary of some of the benefits of earning the FIP seal, from visible alignment to as a show or a sign of trust and solidarity, global framework assurance, informed decision-making, enhanced collaboration, best practice sharing, systematic recognition, and of course, reputational advantage. If you'd like to get further information about the FIP seal or FIP seal awarded programs, please feel free to contact provision@fip.org or scan the QR code on the screen to find out more about the program on the Provision microsite by FIP. Thank you, and back to you, Chun-Wai.
Thank you, Genuine, who is actually the FIP Unit Twins and Provisional Manager. So without further ado, let me pass the floors to Professor Paul Gallagher.
Thanks, Chun-Wai. Hello, everybody. Greetings from the Department of Pharmacy, Pharmaceutical Sciences here at the National University of Singapore. We're now going to move to our panel discussion, and I invite our panel to open their videos. Remember who is on our panel. We have Prof. Alet Dakane from the University of San Tomas in the Philippines, Prof. Sean Lee from Monash, Malaysia. We're joined by Prof. Rhonda Clifford from the University of Western Australia in Western Australia, and from Kate Spencer from the Australian Pharmacy Council. There is also a Q&A box on the Zoom, so please do feel free to ask your questions. This is a golden opportunity where you have both deans and you have the Australian Pharmacy Council, the accreditors, to ask any of the questions that are concerning you about quality assurance and professional education. We have a question in the box from Prof. Kirsty Galbraith in Monash, Australia. And Kirsty's question is, could the panel please comment on the use of accreditation to promote innovation in addition to its regulatory role in ensuring quality? And I think what Kirsty is asking is, how can programs innovate rapidly, introduce digital health, AI literacy, IPE, but without compromising rigor? So that tension between a very fast-moving healthcare system, which Prof. Lee talked about earlier, and then actually the rigor that comes with quality assurance. How do we balance that tension? And maybe if I could start with Australian Pharmacy Council. I'm not sure, Rhonda, would you like to kick the ball off?
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for the really interesting presentations that we've seen so far, and learning about the quality assurance that we're all striving for to deliver excellence in our graduates. I think that the way that the Australian Pharmacy Council, and in my role as an education provider, the way we balance this is that we make sure that our standards are very much contemporary and fit for purpose. And so we update our standards on a regular basis, delivering the aspects of public safety, care of the students, contemporary curriculum. So the standards are always contemporary and updated. But along with that, our standards have the set of performance outcomes, and very much we're looking at outcomes-based education. So the performance outcomes allow the educator to be innovative and almost drives innovation in that space. So it's a really positive way to ensure that our curriculums remain contemporary, that we're producing a graduate that is ready for the ever-changing health landscape, for new scopes of practice, and so on. And so where we see that across our various standards, and if we look at contemporary curriculum, looking at the performance outcomes that might really guide us in that way, we see such innovation and such novelty coming through from our education providers in areas like interprofessional education, where we see innovation either virtually or face-to-face of healthcare providers talking, learning with and about and for each other to determine really innovative ways of delivering education. So we've seen some fantastic things at our interprofessional education colloquium that are a result of these performance outcomes. For example, gamification to teach students how to interact with each other. Other digital technologies where we have students from all over the world talking to each other about ways that they can work with and for and learn about each other. So I think it's the performance outcomes, Paul.
Okay. Rhonda, do you have a concern? Because one of the questions, I think, is the pace of change. And particularly now that we're all beginning to contemplate how will AI and machine learning reshape not only higher education, but actually also reshape professional practice. Whereas standards need time to be drafted and agreed and so forth. Do you think we are going to get to a mismatch between the amount of time it takes to draft these standards and the pace of change that is now really upon us all?
I guess it's a possibility, Paul, but in the current climate at the moment, there's a lot of change in the delivery and scope of practice of pharmacists. And yet what we see is a very, very agile Australian Pharmacy Council responding to those needs in a very, very fast manner. Okay. We are very good at doing the literature review to provide the evidence with our experts in the room. We're very good at getting stakeholders together to really guide us in that process. Okay. And also our regulator makes us do that in a fast and contemporary manner. So I hope not, but I think we should use AI and digital tools in that journey to make sure we keep up with the pace of change. But I think we do that quite well at the moment.
So if I'm to summarize for our audience, the key to the agility of the Australian Pharmacy Council is that you are continuously researching and thinking about this innovation, and that's informing your standards. And then maybe if we flip that question to the academics, maybe if we start with Prof. Lee, because actually also sometimes academics are blamed up in slow in higher education to innovate. And you talked about the challenge of change and the pace of change. How are you in Monash, Malaysia, innovating while ensuring that you're meeting the rigor of both bodies, the national body and the Australian body?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Paul. So I think in the current situation and in current climate, I think this accreditation, it actually is also a self-study for us for an innovation audit, because when we actually look at the accreditation standard, we typically ask ourselves, are we just adequate or are we exceptional? And also, where can we be pioneers? And I can give an example of one of the things that we recently did was that we actually wanted to make a significant investment in one of our new simulation centers, where we actually can use it for our entire curriculum. And really, I can't just go up to my bosses and say, oh, really, this is a really cool idea, but I could actually use accreditation and say, look, it's really essential that, to meet and exceed the current and evolving accreditation standards, and we need to prepare our students for this with this new simulation center, and that really gives us an impetus to drive innovation. Which sometimes, being universities, we are always very risk adverse.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, Sean, you're saying you use the leverage of the accreditation standards within your university to drive change.
Yes, we use that to drive change and also for innovation.
Okay. So in a sense, am I right in thinking, Prof. Aleth, do you do the same? Do you use, as a dean, accreditation standards to attract more resources to your faculty for the purposes of improvement innovation in the Faculty of Pharmacy at University of St. Thomas?
Yeah, thank you for that, Paul. I agree with Sean. We do the same, even if accreditation is voluntary, okay, but we struggle to go into accreditation. Okay, but the beauty of getting into an accreditation, okay, is that you are driven, okay, to keep updated and to be abreast with what's going on. Okay, because if you look at the academic landscape, curriculum has been there, and it takes quite some time for us to be able to have the curriculum revision. Okay, as we all know that we follow a certain cycle about curriculum revision, that we do the minor in 2 years, we do the major in 5 years, and the rest of the slight revision, we do that, but we cannot do it as often as possible whenever there is an innovation. Okay, however, okay, when you look at the accreditation criteria, okay, and when the accreditation body keeps on updating their criteria, and that when you map it on what you are doing, do the alignment, then there's no option. There's no choice, okay, because when you get into accreditation, what you need to do is to comply, and you have to meet the standards of this accreditation. So innovation comes in, okay, more often. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe we move to Dr. John Jackson from Monash University, who has a great question, which is, I think, of particular interest to the Western Pacific Centre, which is recognizing the increasing global movement of the pharmacy workforce. Should there be a regional set of competence standards used in accreditation of pharmacy school and registration of practitioners? Maybe if a colleague from APC, and I see also we're joined by Chief Executive of APC, Bronwyn Clark. Hi, Bronwyn. Thank you for joining us. Anyone want to jump in? This idea of workforce mobility, which is a very hot issue in our Western Pacific region, where we have shortage of pharmacists and we have a lot of mobility within the region. Should we now move as a region to have, as John has suggested, this regional competence standards?
Hi, Paul. I will jump in here. Thank
Thanks,
you for the
Rhonda.
opportunity to be part of this, and huge apologies I wasn't able to join earlier. I know Rhonda was about to answer that, but I might have a crack at this. So I think that that's a very good question that John raises. The issue around global mobility is a significant issue for our whole region and globally, and something that we are working on in Australia across all the health professions, so not just pharmacy. Our health ministers are very interested in how we increase mobility and how we facilitate and streamline pathways into Australia for health practitioners. And I know from my conversations with those in other regions that many other countries are doing the same thing. So with regards to a regional set of competency standards, I think there's some core capabilities that would be possible for us to all agree on. And I think that that's something that is potentially something we could look at doing. I think the other thing that we have to keep in mind is that all of our practitioners need to also have context-specific capabilities and competencies. And in Kate's presentation earlier, when she talked about the APC standards, for example, there are 2 standards that are very Australian specific. So that makes it mean for us in Australia, for example, around cultural safety for our own Indigenous peoples of Australia, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, that's something that's quite specific here. But there are many other standards that could be more globally and regionally recognised. And when it comes to thinking about global movement, I think there's work that we could do together. But I might let Rhonda answer now. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Bronwyn.
Thanks, Bronwyn. Thanks, Paul. I agree with everything that Bronwyn's just said, and it's really important. So I'm going to take it from a different angle because I'm on the working group for FIP that's looking at the competency standards worldwide. So that group is mapping all the competency standards that we can find that have a framework. And I think the results of that work will be really interesting when we finish that work to show how similar and how different they are in the various regions. And we are doing that region by region, and Western Pacific is one of those regions because they were the articles that I needed to review because that's where I live and work. So I think that even FIP have that on their radar, and it is something that would be really interesting into the future.
Rhonda, if I could maybe press you with a difficult question. In the Western Pacific region, we have countries, high-income countries such as your country, and then we have middle-income countries, and even within that, we have people who are middle-income and in low bands. And some of those providers of pharmacy education are reforming their pharmacy education degrees programs and really seeking that kind of international accreditation to enable, including, as John said, workforce mobility. But of course, they have real resourcing issues. Some of these don't have the money, and we've already heard from Monash Malaysia about the expense of getting accreditation, as well as all the other issues in terms of interrupting work and so forth. Do you have any recommendations for them? What do they do? We have quite a few deans who are in this tight corner, I would say.
It's a really interesting question, Paul, and it's one that we've talked about at the APC around providing support for education providers who are in the position of low and middle income countries to achieve the quality assurance that they want to achieve and achieve the excellence in graduates that they need to achieve to meet the healthcare needs with limited resources. And I think it's a discussion that we need to have across the board at APC, at FIP, to see how we can support those low and middle income countries that are trying to deliver excellence in education, and what aspects might be the most important for them to consider first, and to give some right touch accreditation to guide them along the way in a very specific fashion, but also provide support for them, not just the accreditors going in and saying this is how you do it, but using it as an opportunity to share and learn And one of the things that I think we've really come a long way with in the APC is that collaborative nature of accreditation. We certainly work very collaboratively with our education providers, and it's not that they're the accreditors and we're the education providers. It's very much a different focus now about how do we support you? How do we get you to meet your goals? We all want the same excellence in education and excellence in graduates that meet the needs of the health workforce in which they're going to work. But it's a really difficult question, Paul.
And maybe just sticking with that and thinking about making accreditation more widely available and thinking of the current model and how expensive it is and how resource intensive it is. Maybe if I can ask, maybe just throw it open to the entire panel, what do you think is the appropriate role of artificial intelligence and digital technologies in accreditation and QA processes? It seems that everything from curriculum mapping, assessment analytics, academic integrity monitoring, all of that is very amenable to this new world of AI. Is there an opportunity here for to extend accreditation and to scale it up and to make it more affordable? Any thoughts?
Well, I might talk a little to this. In Australia, we have a collaborative forum. It's a peak body called the Health Professions Accreditation Collaborative Forum, HPAC Forum, which is all of the 15 accreditation authorities within our national scheme. So we have the Pharmacy Council and the Medical Council, nursing, etc., etc. And a piece of work that's come out of the strategic plan for the HPAC Forum is exactly looking at what accreditation can do and what artificial intelligence can be used from accreditation authorities' perspective. We have got a working group looking at this, and we're just starting some initial work on what that could look like from the agency's perspective. And I think that we aren't in any position to share any of that as yet, but it's certainly making us think about what it is we can do collectively across accreditation in health in Australia. And if we have some findings, then we will definitely share those more globally. The other thing I would add is that at APC ourselves, we literally were in conversations about what we are doing, about work that we will do internally to provide better feedback to our providers, to use some of the data that we gather and how we use that safely within privacy regulations and in a sustainable way that will be able to give more feedback back to education providers and for us to make decisions for quality improvement. So there are a couple of things that we're doing from the accreditor's perspective, but I'll let someone else talk from the education provider's perspective.
So that's my final question to one of the two deans. Do you see a role in AI digital technologies as you prepare, engage, get metrics for accreditors and so forth?
Maybe I'll have a go. So I do think that AI with the revolving use of technology, definitely there'll be a role of AI. I think AI does make mistakes, but they do actually help a lot in terms of trying to get us, helping us with just formulation and also double checking some of the information and extracting information. So sometimes we may do some wrong data extractions. AI, that's where I think there are bigger roles of AI, but we are also using AI in terms of creating questions. So I think there are definitely roles of using AI on a broader sense, whether it's for accreditation, whether it's for education.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Lee. We're out of time. I haven't got to all of the questions, so excuse me, Sanya Ram, for your question. I will share it with the panel, and we will get back to you by email afterwards with the question. And thank you very much to our panel, and I hand you back to Chun-Wai.
Thank you, everyone. So can I have the slides back? So a few things to wrap up. As Paul mentions, we are running a bit late, a few minutes late. Apology for that. But just very quickly, If you want to know more about the FIP digital event, this is the right URL for you to stay on. So go to the events.fip.org. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes. So of course, obviously, FIP landmark event will be our FIP World Congress of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. This in 2026, it will be in Montreal, Canada, with the theme of One Health, One Pharmacy, bridging science, practice, and education. It will be supported by the Canadian Pharmacists Association. So the next slide, please. So these are the sub-teams. We will be focusing on integrated health, innovating with purpose, as well as collaborating for equity. So some of the important dates are highlighted here. So some of you who joined earlier, you also been seeing this slide. The next slide, please. So with that, I will thank you everyone for your time. So as Paul mentioned, some of those questions we will be coming back to you, and do stay tuned to more of the events and do connect to us in our social media in the FIP to stay in touch. With that, thank you very much for all your time, and we will see you in